I think we can all say that 2017 brought about a lot of great things. We got a new president who I have no opinion about because that would put me in a really, really bad spot.
When people run for
great new YouTube policies, and hopefully a repeal of net neutrality. Please just kill me. But seriously, one great thing to come out of 2017 has to be the addition of new Pokemon games. I feel like there's a lot we can take away from the post-game of Pokemon Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon, but in order to get there, you will need to have a good starter Pokemon. So today, I'm here to bring you guys the best starter for Pokemon Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon. But as you guys know, I normally have a super
Alright, what is going on, guys? My name is
No, Supra. Oh my god, not yet.
Wait, that wasn't my cue?
No, man, I didn't even finish the sentence.
Oh, my bad. I thought you said Supra.
My guest today is Supra.
But anyways, today Eryizo and I are here to help you guys make the right decision on what statistically is the best starter. Of course, there is no right or wrong decision on what starter to pick, but there is definitely a best Pokemon to pick that would benefit you the most.
And in case you guys haven't seen the previous best starter videos, we will be taking a look at each important character's individual Pokemon and rate each starter's levels of advantage or disadvantage on a scale of 1 to 5. 1 being totally disadvantaged, and 5 being at the best advantage. We take a look at stats, type matchups, moves, basically everything. And we don't just take into account the trials and Elite Four either, we also take a look at rival battles and evil organizations since they are both prominent in the story.
We should also mention that we add more points to the more times you battle an important character. For example, you battle Guzma 3 times, so we use the rating system for each separate battle and add up the points from there.
All of this should give us a good idea of who the best starter in Pokemon Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon is. Just remember, there are no real opinions here, so if your favorite starter isn't technically the best, then don't hate the player, hate the game. And Supra, he did all the research, I think it was rigged.
Also, once you guys are done watching this video on Eryizo's channel, make sure you head over to my channel to check out another video Eryizo and I did together. This one being the top 5 hardest totem Pokemon in Pokemon Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon.
If you guys enjoyed the video, be sure to leave a like, subscribe, and share this video with a friend. And with that being said, let's get started.
So let's start off by taking a look at the starter that both Eryizo and I picked to start off our journey. Rowlet. From face value, Rowlet is a great Pokemon to pick because it's the only Pokemon out of the 3 starters to have a dual typing, that being Grass and Flying. And with those 2 typings, it has access to 2 stab moves early on in the game, being Leafage and Peck. Both of these moves are really nice for the added boost in damage. And if powered through, Rowlet has a very strong advantage against Hapu, Faba, and Olivia at the Elite Four. So through that assessment, it has to be the best starter, right?
Yeah, it is.
Really?
No.
Oh.
Like its predecessing games, Rowlet successfully becomes the most difficult starter to use throughout Alola. But maybe I'm just being a bit too harsh. Let's give it a closer look. Taking a look at Rowlet's advantages, it has none. No, seriously, it really sucks in this game. From the start, Rowlet doesn't actually do as bad as I make it out to be, with it going neutral with Totem Radicator Gumshoes and doing the best out of the 3 starters against Araquanid. And I guess throughout the game, there are some points where Rowlet can really shine. For example, against Totem Mimikyu and Lurantis, it actually does the best and second best. For Mimikyu, even though it can hit you back with some powerful ghost type attacks, all Decidueye really has to do is use its Z move and Mimikyu is pretty much done. And as for Lurantis, the only thing you really need to worry about is if it decides to call upon Kecleon. Reason being is that it has access to the move Ancient Power, which can be a problem. But besides that, a couple plucks should do the trick.
However, everything goes downhill once you make it uphill to Wela Volcano Park, because atop the volcano is one really powerful Alolan Marowak that is holding a thick club. That totem Pokemon alone should send you running back to your home to Hau'oli and never think about becoming a trainer again. again. But I also forgot to mention that this Pokemon can call upon a freaking Salazzle to poison you and use more fire attacks. And the struggles you have with Totem Marowak are only the beginning of Rowlet's problems. So allow me to list all of the disadvantages that Rowlet has and the reasons why they're a bad matchup for him. Oh Jesus. Togedemaru because it literally resists a lot of things Decidueye does, Kommo-o because it calls an Annoyvern, Rabombi because of Quiver Dance and Blissey could heal pulse the Rabombi, Plumeria because of Salazzle and Golbat, and Nanu because of Dark types. Wow, that was a lot of stuff. Was there anything I missed?
Yeah, there's a couple of things you left out, like basically the entire Elite Four aside from Olivia, Gladian's new team that destroys it, the Nihilego boss battle, Lusamine still being Lusamine, and the fact that it does the worst out of the 3 starters against eventual champion Hao. Sorry if I spoiled you there, by the way. Oh, and I forgot to mention that it also struggles with most Pokemon that Team Skull Grunts carry, that being Dark and Poison types.
And adding up all these deficiencies, I think it's safe to say that Decidueye is probably not going to be the best starter to pick. So hey, why not take a look at the Pokemon that won Best Starter for Pokemon Sun and Moon? Litten.
Well, the weird thing about Litten is that it has a very inconsistent stretch against the totem Pokemon. It can destroy Raticate and Gumshoes, but only if you have Double Kick at level 16. And it's very unlikely that you'll be that high of a level at that stage of the game. After that, it struggles with Araquanid, goes even with Marowak, and then destroys the next 2 trials being Togedemaru and Lurantis. And once that's over, it really just kinda cruises by the rest of the trials being at even or a slight disadvantage. Until of course you get to the final trial where it has the best chance against Rabombi.
Yeah, that's really inconsistent, and against the Elite Four, it's actually no different. Incineroar basically goes 2 out of 2, struggling against Olivia and Kahili, but completely destroying Molayne and Acerola. And as for Hao, it pretty much goes even with him throughout the entire game. But there is a part of the game where Incineroar consistently shines, and that's against all of the Pokemon factions.
And by consistent, we really mean that. It consistently goes even against all the Pokemon factions. Team Skull, Aether Foundation, Ultra Recon Squad, Lusamine, Guzma, Plumeria, the Nihilego boss battle, even Gladian it goes even with. The only person, and I mean the only person that doesn't go even with Incineroar is Faba with his psychic types, where Incineroar has the clear advantage. So throughout the game, Incineroar basically goes even and doesn't really have that many struggles.
But Eryizo, you forgot to mention something.
What is it, Supra?
Well, you forgot to mention that there's a point in the game where Incineroar really struggles.
And where might that be?
Well, if you take a look at the Kahunas, literally every single Kahuna resists or completely destroys Incineroar. Except for Hala though, because you could have a Torracat at that point. Whether it's Olivia and her rock types, Nanu and his dark types, or Hapu and her ground types, Incineroar just really has a tough time. And with Nanu, he even has a counter to Incineroar being Krokorok.
Oh yeah. How could I have missed that? But even with these deficiencies, Incineroar is still a great option to choose to get you through these games. But does that make it good enough to be the best starter in Pokemon Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon? Well, there's just one Pokemon standing in its way. Popplio.
When it comes to Popplio, like Litten, it has a great start to the game. In fact, I would argue that it has an even better start. The main reason being that early on it gains access to the fairy type move Disarming Voice, and if you're playing Ultra Moon, it completely bodies Raticate. Afterwards, it goes even with Araquanid, destroys Marowak, and is the only starter besides Decidueye that can hold its own against Kommo-o. So basically, where Litten struggles, Popplio succeeds. I'm of course talking about the Kahunas where Popplio pretty much destroys everyone. As for the Elite Four, besides Molayne's Magnezone, Primarina basically does well against Olivia, Kahili, if you have Ice Beam, and it goes even with Acerola.
Not to mention that it also does pretty well against all the Pokemon factions. And aside from Ultra Recon Squad's Poipole, Popplio does well against Guzma, Gladian, and Nihilego. And for everything else, he pretty much goes even. But where Popplio's real improvement comes is actually against your rival Hao. In case you guys haven't seen the best starter for Pokemon Sun and Moon, one of the key reasons as to why Popplio lost out on the best starter title was because of the fact that Hao ended up getting an Alola and Raichu. But in Pokemon Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon, Hao also decides to add a Noibat to his team. And with that new addition, it pretty much cancels out his weakness to Raichu.
But Popplio is not without its struggles. For a certain stretch, Popplio will run into some problems. That being the Team Skull Grunts, which you conveniently glossed over, and Lusamine. And let's not forget that for a good stretch of the game, Lurantis and Togedemaru, which are both trials that follow each other in that order, completely destroy and resist Primarina. And what you said about Popplio doing well against Gladion is kinda wrong. Sure, it destroys Zoroark, but what about Crobat and Silvally? Even Lucario has a move to counter it.
Yeah, you're right. I guess it doesn't do as good as I thought it did. And with all of these weaknesses, it's going to be hard for Popplio to win. But as we all know, every Pokemon has its weaknesses. But which one of these three Pokemon can overcome their weaknesses the best?
Well, we've tallied up the points, and the best starter statistically for Pokemon Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon is Popplio.
Yes, Popplio is statistically the best starter to pick for Pokemon Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon. Let's face it, Rowlet didn't really stand a chance with this one, and it really was down to just Litten and Popplio. But Litten just comes up short. It's too inconsistent during the trials in Elite Four, and doesn't have enough advantages in places like the evil teams and Kahunas. And sure, Popplio can be a little inconsistent at times too, but a big change between Sun and Moon in these new games is really the addition of Noibat to How's team. That alone softens the struggle Popplio has to Raichu, which How adds fairly early on to his team.
Timing is also a big factor. For instance, if Brionne was a water fairy instead of just water, it would have gained a ton of more weaknesses to people like Plumeria, Salazzle at the Marowak trial, and Nihilego. Plus, fairy typing is also just really powerful.
But for those people who said Popplio got robbed in the last best starter video, well, you get your wish here. And the stats don't lie, the best starter for Pokemon Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon is Popplio. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, be sure to leave a like and let me know in the comments section below. If you haven't already, subscribe to the channel and become an Eryizo today. I also want to thank my good friend Supra for joining me today.
Thanks for having me. And if you guys are still hungry for more Pokemon Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon content, head over to my channel where Eryizo and I talk about the top 5 hardest totem Pokemon in Pokemon Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon.
And if you guys are here from Supra's channel, why not stick around and watch some of my other Ultra Sun and Moon videos? Or why not check out my other best starter videos? I'd also like to take a second to thank Double Dark and Nate Wick for helping me edit this video. Without them, I would have not been able to bring you guys this video today. So please do me a favor and go check out their content. The links to their channels will be in the description. And with that being said, I will see you guys next time.